Afternoon Manifestations. By Richard Dotz. Table of Contents. A note from Richard Dotz. Chapter 1, Fun is the Magic Ingredient. Chapter 2, Receiving and Understanding Universal Impulses. Chapter 3, Realizing the Secret Behind the I Am Presence. Chapter 4, Any Stuckness is Just an Illusion. Chapter 5, Freeing Ourselves from Past Manifestations. Chapter 6, Are You Playing the Shit Game? Chapter 7, Watching the Universal Magician at Work. Chapter 8, What do you want to create today? Chapter 9, Are you switching your intentions for something smaller? Chapter 10, Your manifestations are inevitable. Copyright Richard Dotz 2015. First Kindle edition. Questions, comments? The author can be contacted at richarddotz@gmail.com. A note from Richard Dotz. Over the years, I realized that mastering the art of outer manifestations depends on how well we do the inner work necessary. This book consists of a series of 10 manifestation lessons, each of which can be absorbed and pondered upon in one afternoon by readers regardless of their background. Each lesson revolves around an important manifestation principle, which if grasped, will make manifestations happen faster and more freely in your everyday life. I wrote this book with a busy professional in mind. Those who have struggled fought with long-standing issues or delayed manifestations in their lives will benefit from the spontaneous letting go that occurs as they try out the exercises at the end of each chapter. These exercises remind us to take ourselves less seriously, and more importantly, to have fun with the manifestation process each step along the way. If you'll devote the afternoons needed to work through the material in this book, you'll come to recognize your own true powers as a creator in this infinite universe. I wish you the highest joy in this wonderful experience. Richard Dotz. Chapter 1, Fun is the Magic Ingredient. As I look back at my long manifestation journey, I see something present today that was conspicuously absent from my earlier days: fun. That magical ingredient is the immense fun I'm having right now as I'm engaged in the process. I'm having so much fun that I do not feel like stopping, and I let this sense of lightness and fun guide me into even greater adventures, even though I may not always know where I'm going. Back in the early days of my journey, I used to be so irritated when spiritual teachers spoke about the importance of having fun and being happy. All of them spoke of happiness as the ultimate end goal, while there I was, desperately trying to manifest all that physical stuff in my life and wondering why they had not shown up yet. I'm doing all the steps right, so just give me all the physical stuff I'm asking for and I'll be happy once and for all. Give me all that stuff, then I will be happy, I frequently pleaded with the universe. But alas, our universal laws do not work this way. Thankfully, we do not live in a universe where our only goal is to accumulate more physical stuff. How boring a life that would be, and how much physical stuff we would have to live with in our lifetimes. I was gently reminded of this truth the last time I moved, having to throw out literally half of my physical possessions I had amassed over the years and come to associate so strongly with throwing many of those physical items out of my life. Actually, giving most of them away, made me realize that I was not defined by what I owned. I was still whole, complete and the same person without my dearest physical possessions. I realized I needed very little to live a rich life. How silly I was to hold my possessions in such high regard, thinking that they define me. Nothing could touch or destroy the true essence of my being, not even their loss. That was a valuable life lesson in itself because it made me more conscious about all the physical stuff I was amassing in my life. It also removed my long-standing fear of losing my physical belongings. I set an intention back then to be more mindful about what I added to my life and to only acquire something if it was in line with my highest purpose. This meant no more impulse or mindless buys at the checkout counter, no more ordering from the home shopping channel just because there was a discount, and thinking carefully about whether a new purchase would really add value to my life before making it. My new decision served me well. It has led me to focus less on the tangibles in life and more on the intangibles. I now have more time to devote to inner spiritual pursuits instead of worrying about how to store my stuff when I was not using them. Getting much of this physical clutter out of my way was one of the best decisions I made. Another unexpected benefit is that I enjoy the rest of my physical possessions even more. In the past, I would have made a slew of mindless purchases and got bored with them only after a few days or weeks. They would then be chucked aside. After setting this new intention years ago, I became very deliberate with each new physical item I manifested in my life. When I received something I wanted, I found myself cherishing and benefiting from it more fully. I still use the exercise bicycle I bought 2 years ago on a daily basis, because my intention for that item was in line with my greater life purpose instead of just being an impulse buy. You'll be surprised at how much richer your life gets when you become more conscious about your purchases. Some people will read this and think that I'm advocating a lifestyle devoid of material wants. That's certainly not what I'm suggesting here. You can still have all the material objects and toys you ask for, but with a difference. Instead of wanting everything that catches your eye, pause and first ask yourself whether what you're asking for supports your long-term well-being and higher purpose in life. Will it make you more fulfilled? Does it allow you to live your higher purpose? Does it bring you greater joy in life or just short-term bragging rights, after which you have to figure out a way to dispose of it? Asking yourself these questions before making a new material purchase will save you from considerable headache and inconvenience later on. How many times have we made an expensive purchase only to secretly blame and berate ourselves for it? Let's drop this scenario from our lives once and for all. Give up anything that does not bring us pure fun and enjoyment. You'll be surprised at how emotionally free you feel once you give up your unnecessary material possessions. These items not only occupy physical space around your house but also mental space in your consciousness in the form of guilt feelings, resentment or blame. I often felt guilty about my impulse buys and blamed myself for them, yet I could not bring myself to give them away because I have already paid so much for them. As a result, many of these impulse buys drain our energy as they accumulate over the years of our lives. Why not set an intention to let all of that go? Make a list of things you can give away to someone who needs them and will appreciate having them in their lives. Other ways to let go of the clutter in your life include organizing a garage sale or selling on eBay. But you must get down to doing it. It is important not to accumulate more stuff in the process of giving things away and hence stay trapped in this negative cycle. A family I know has accumulated tons of physical items over the years as bargain buys and handouts from others. Their originally beautiful house now looks like a storage facility. For every item they threw out, they would take in 2 to 3 more. When asked about their behavior, the family replied that it was a waste to throw away all that good stuff, and so they took things in even though they had no use for it. They just accepted things and let them pile up in their house so as not to let any of it go to waste. There is a deeper metaphysical significance behind all this. What do you think is the mindset of a person who hoards her material possessions? Will it be one of abundance or one of lack? Why does one even see the need to hoard in the first place? We may not see ourselves as serial hoarders, but the need to accumulate things in our lives points to a deeper belief in lack. We pile things up and save for a rainy day only when we implicitly believe that there is not enough to go around. Hence the need to cling onto our own share of that goodness. A person who sees the need to hoard does not believe in the abundant nature of the universe and does not trust that the universe will provide him with everything he needs whenever it is needed. Therefore, hoarding actually perpetuates more lack and shortage in our lives. The family in question is in considerable financial debt. Although all members hold well-paying jobs, for one cannot hold such beliefs on the inside and still expect to perpetuate abundance on the outside. Take a look at your own life. Have you allowed yourself to cling on to certain things, even though they no longer serve you? If so, it may be a good idea to gently let them go from your life. Do not be afraid that they will go to waste or ever think that it is a pity to let them go from your life. Because there is no lack and limitation in the universe. We perceive something as wasteful only when we simultaneously believe in the existence of lack and scarcity. But when everything is abundant in our world, how can there ever be waste? Waste only comes about when there is a sense of lack. When an unlimited supply of universal goodness flows spontaneously to meet the needs of everyone at all times, then how can there be lack? Give up the need to hoard anything, especially things that no longer serve any purpose in your life. Give up the emphasis that you place on your physical possessions. They do not define you. You can lose all your physical possessions tomorrow and still be here. Give them away to others who need them more. You'll not only be helping them but doing a great favor for yourself. And of course, if one finds it difficult to do so, an individual will ultimately be forced to give up all of his physical possessions when he leaves this physical life experience. So why not make a conscious decision to do so now? It is ironic that I would suggest giving things away so early in a book that is focused on physical manifestations. But there is a reason. If you wish to become an effective manifester, then you have to let go of all the emotional baggage you have picked up in the past surrounding your physical manifestations. The easiest way to do so is to give their physical counterparts away. You may have manifested certain items in the past while simultaneously feeling guilty or undeserving of them. Or you may have attracted something into your life that you felt was frivolous. All of these past experiences can cause us to form less than healthy expectations and attitudes about the manifestation process or about own judgment. It is time to let all of this past emotional baggage go and start from a clean slate. Some people have so much guilt associated with attracting physical stuff into their lives because they are surrounded by reminders of their bad purchase decisions and impulse buys. If this sounds like you, it may be useful to gently let go of all the unwanted physical items in your life and free yourself from those negative feelings for good. Set an intention to be more deliberate about physical manifestations in your life from now on, and to only attract things that will bring you greater joy and happiness in life. Use joy as a yardstick. You'll find this to be a more resourceful way of living. Does it mean that you can no longer have the shiny toys and gadgets in your life? Not at all. The good news is that not only can you have them all, you'll enjoy them even more. Instead of the once-off pleasure you used to get from these physical experiences, you'll now see how they can be used as springboards towards even greater manifestation adventures, with none of the negative downsides. See your physical manifestations as signs and guideposts along the way to help you lead a more fulfilling life, not as crutches or obstacles along the way. When you place your emphasis on the creative process itself and on having fun, everything you have asked for starts to flow into your life. You not only have great fun, but everything you have asked for now flows to support the fun that you're having. So forget all you have learned about manifestations. Forget everything that has worked or not worked for you in the past. Forget about all the things you are trying so hard to manifest in your life. Right now, we will focus on one overriding intention in our time together. It is an intention you may have forgotten along the way but is absolutely crucial to the manifestation process. It is the magic ingredient, and it is fun. Chapter 2, receiving and understanding universal impulses. There was a period in my life when I was inexplicably drawn to having nice afternoon tea, complete with a selection of fine finger food, tarts and pastries. This wouldn't have been out of the ordinary if I was a grandmother living in London, England, but here I was, a guy in a metropolitan city more used to drinking coffee out of Starbucks cups than sipping tea out of porcelain teacups. Despite the initial objection by my logical self about the lavish expense and the embarrassment of being seen at one of these places, I went ahead and booked my afternoon tea at several posh hotels around town. It turned out that I enjoyed those afternoons with myself greatly. My higher self was right. Strangely, those strong cravings disappeared after I had satisfied them and never came back. As I look back at that episode, I realize that it coincided with an extremely stressful period of uncertainty in my life. While I appeared to be handling the change well on the outside, I was actually close to buckling from all that pressure on the inside with no one to turn to. My higher self knew that taking a few afternoons off and having some tea in quiet and luxurious surroundings would allow me to sort out my thinking and get in touch with that greater part of myself. That's why it sent me a strong impulse to do something I had never done before, to take time off and enjoy some afternoon tea. I thought it was only about the food and the tea, but little did I realize that my higher self was sending me the message that abundance was everywhere. It was letting me know, through the opulent surroundings and impeccable service, that I did not have to worry about what came next, for I would always be provided for by the universe. I would have all the time and money I needed to lead a good life, no matter what choices I made. Those were the feelings I felt strongly as I enjoyed my afternoon tea, which I subsequently put into words. Those sessions helped me get in touch with the abundant side of myself once again. Since then, I have come to associate afternoon tea with feelings of prosperity and abundance. I first wrote about this in my book Banned Money Secrets, in which I talk about how the feelings of abundance feel like freedom, ease and flow to me. Having a nice afternoon tea in luxurious surroundings brings up these same feelings for me, which is why the experience feels so good. Behind every activity in our lives lies a particular feeling, or a set of feelings. It is these feelings we are after when we embark in that activity. For example, some people are drawn to skydiving because of the immense sense of excitement it gives them, while others may derive the same enjoyment from watching a scary movie. The feelings behind these little activities that we partake in all day make all the difference in our lives. They influence our inner states and therefore what we manifest in our physical realities. Take a close look at some of the cravings and impulses that have surfaced in your life, especially those that may be new or unfamiliar to you. Perhaps it may be a sudden impulse to sign up for pottery class, to pursue a new hobby, or to check something out. You may dismiss them at first glance as random thoughts or cravings, but pay close attention to those that keep recurring for you and refuse to go away. There is usually a good reason for them. The reason will unfold for you once you remove any conscious resistance and allow this universal flow to guide you. I suggest that you find a way to fulfill these impulses if there are no major obstacles or obvious disadvantages involved. What I have found is that when the universe nudges us in a particular direction, it usually opens up all doors for us to fulfill that higher intention. Often, the only source of resistance or objection comes from our logical selves, in the form of "I don't think I should be doing this because underscore." Our higher selves always see a more complete picture than our physical selves. An impulse. Inspiration is one way in which we are nudged to take action in line with our greater good. Since our higher self does not communicate literally in words, it does so in the form of inner feelings, impulses, and nudges. The problem is that we have been taught to think logically and tune out all these intuitive nudges. We pretend they do not even exist. although they may ring loud and clear for most of our lives on the inside. If you only took the time to look and listen to the messages that are on the inside, you'll be surprised at how much inner guidance and wisdom you possess. There will be no need to look to external sources for advice or direction. Any external source will simply confirm what you already know on the inside. Why does the universe communicate in feelings instead of words? Man has become so used to language and verbal communication that we believe that words should be the better medium here. Wouldn't it be nice to have God write you an email offering step by step advice? How about writing God an email detailing your problems and whatever you need help with? That is what we try to do when we engage in traditional prayer. When we tell God or some higher being out there about all our problems in prose form. This seems like a good idea until you realize how inadequate and cumbersome words can be. If even a simple email from a coworker can be misunderstood and blown out of proportion, what about an email from the universe? And how many emails would it take to clarify what the universe really meant when it said something that can be interpreted in several ways? Thankfully, there is a better way. If you really understand the nature of our universe, you'll recognize it as the perfect solution. The universe functions on the level of our feelings and emotions. When we wish to send a message to the universe, we do so not through a WhatsApp message but through our feelings. Similarly, when the universe wants to send a message to us, it does so not through an application but directly through our feelings as well. Think about how many words would be needed to adequately describe a single feeling. How would one adequately describe the feelings of love, happiness, or abundance? When you feel a particular feeling and have a sense of inner knowingness, no words are necessary. This is the perfect way for the universe to keep in touch with you. Unlike WhatsApp, your connection to the universe is always on. The universe is always picking up on your feelings and emotions. This means you can never block the universe from eavesdropping on what's going on inside of yourself, which is actually a very good thing. It works in the other direction as well. The universe is always sending you impulses and nudges. Suppose that you pray to the universe every night before you sleep, detailing everything that is going wrong in your life and asking for divine intervention. Recall that the universe does not work at the level of your physical words. Instead, it picks up on your feelings as you say the prayer. What feelings are the universe picking up on as you are praying? While your intentions may be good and while you may be asking for positive change, one cannot talk about their problems and feel good about them at the same time. Now you know why traditional prayer does not work, because ironically, the person ends up with more reasons and circumstances to feel the way he is currently feeling, which in turn causes them to pray more, and the cycle goes on. A better form of prayer is a gratitude prayer. It is easy to see why prayers in this form can work, because we move our focus away from the problems in our lives to the sense of gratitude and appreciation we feel when our prayers are fulfilled. Gratitude prayers usually start with, "Thank you for all these things in my life." One then goes on to list the things they are thankful for or give thanks as if what they want has already happened. The success of these prayers will depend on how much mastery an individual has over his inner state as he is praying, and whether he can keep his feelings firmly centered on those of gratitude and appreciation. I am often asked if gratitude is necessary to our physical manifestations. Readers ask this question because many popular self-help books have advocated the practice of giving thanks for something. This has led many to believe that giving thanks in itself is some sort of a manifestation technique, which is why we start forcing ourselves to write in our gratitude journals even though we may not really feel like it. Is gratitude necessary for our physical manifestations? Yes and no. When you truly and genuinely feel grateful for something, then no outwardly acts of gratitude or thanksgiving are necessary. You'll constantly be emanating spontaneously feelings of joy, love and appreciation for the world around you. And things would still happen for you even if you do not give thanks physically. However, once you see the act of giving thanks as a manifestation technique and force yourself to go through the physical motions of it without really feeling a sense of gratitude on the inside, then guess what? Your true feelings are what the universe picks up on, which results in no physical manifestations. So give thanks only if it is heartfelt and genuine. There is never a need to force yourself into anything which you do not feel like doing. In the beginning, the higher self knows that the logical self is unfamiliar with this form of universal guidance. Therefore, it sends us signals in the form of broader impulses and nudges to go do something. Since my higher self, the universe, could not let me know the exact message it wanted to convey, it presented the message to me in a way that I would be the most receptive of. It is the same for you as well. The universe is always speaking to you in your language and nudging you in the direction of your greatest good. You'll be surprised at where your inner wisdom takes you once you start letting in some of those impulses and messages. This is something which you can start doing today. We are always seeking greater life and greater self-expression. The creative universal energy that flows through us in every moment is seeking to express itself as outer creations. We direct where this energy goes by exercising our conscious intent and by choosing what we want to create. However, individuals who have denied or stifled their innate creative powers for too long tend to have large amounts of repressed or stuck energy. These manifest as negativity, apathy, hopelessness, discouragement or resentment in their lives. An individual feels this way not because creative energies are not flowing through them, but because they have repressed their creative urges for too long. One way to resolve this block quickly is to recognize one's creative urges for what they are, as impulses from the universe, and then to start fulfilling these impulses in small ways. For example, this may happen through the pursuit of a new hobby. The mere act of moving in this direction would allow one to realize their innate abilities as a creator, which would then go on to facilitate physical manifestations in other parts of their lives. Afternoon manifestation activity for Chapter 2. Identify a seemingly frivolous or fun impulse, urge which you have been resisting for the longest time. Start fulfilling it in the best way you can. Target to take the first step and get things going by the end of this week. While this activity may not directly relate to your other life goals, intentions, your fulfillment of this impulse will allow your inner creative powers to become clearer for you. The new insights will also be beneficial for other areas of your life. Chapter 3, Realizing the Secret Behind the I Am Presence. Man's fundamental nature is creative. We are always seeking to channel our creative energies into new endeavors and creations in various forms. In fact, there is no limit to the creative forms which we can manifest in our physical lives. Physical manifestations do not have to be limited to the act of attracting physical objects into our lives. They can take the form of creating new works of art, bringing new services to the marketplace, setting up new businesses, or even bringing a new life to this earth. All these are creative activities at their core, but we overlook them when we are too narrowly focused on attracting all that stuff we have asked for. The moment you recognize that manifestations are literally everywhere and happening in each moment of your life, as well as in the lives of others you observe, you start warming up to the idea that you are a creator at heart. You are a manifester in this universe. You are always manifesting, whether you like it or know it. If that's the case, why not use your manifestation abilities wisely and deliberately? Why not choose to create things and circumstances that please you, instead of those that upset you? The day you finally realize that you are a 24/7 creator will be the day you live up to your full potential as a creator. Let the day be today. Most people theoretically accept that they are always creating or that they are creators at the core of their being without realizing the full spiritual significance of these statements. We are going for a deep knowing and realization here, not a superficial textbook understanding of the concept. The purpose of this chapter is really to get you to realize and live these two statements consciously in your daily life. Observe your own actions closely over the course of the next day or so. Notice and make a mental note each time you observe yourself creating something, no matter what it is you are doing. This exercise heightens your awareness and makes you realize that you are a creative being. Creation is at the core of your being. This insight can be a real eye-opener for some, especially those who have been denying their creative abilities for the longest time. For example, I am creating this very moment. As I put this string of physical words down on paper. In this moment, I am a creator who takes the form of a writer. When I made myself a cup of green tea this morning, I was creating as well. I was creating that cup of freshly brewed green tea. When I converse with my friends and business partners later in the afternoon, I will be creating as well. The creation will come in the form of new ideas and exciting plans that we will jointly put into action. Thus the act of creation continues and permeates every area of our lives. Just this single realization alone will make you realize how much of a sacred being you are. You may have previously thought that you were hopeless at manifesting anything, or that all the manifestation techniques that you tried so far have not worked. You may have read all the books about the law of attraction and still be struggling to attract something desired into your life. Despite all of that evidence which you have thrown at yourself, you are already a creator at the core of your being. There are no books you have to read, no techniques you have to learn in order to be a creator. You already are. You can prove this easily to yourself through the exercise I just described. Take a good look at each moment of your life and notice how you are always creating something in each moment. You will find yourself hard-pressed to identify a moment when you are not creating. Even when you are in the shower, you are creating new ideas and insights that gently and pleasantly float through your head. On the outside, you are creating a wonderful shower experience for yourself. With warm flowing water and soap that smells so good. Who created that wonderful shower experience for yourself? You did. First by consciously having an intent to take that shower, along with many other earlier intentions to set up your bathroom in a particular way or to use a particular brand of soap and shampoo. All of your earlier intentions, and creations, have culminated in this now moment of your shower experience. Did you see how everything works together so nicely? We are always intending and creating in every moment of our life, no matter what activities we're engaged in. Our current intentions, desires, and creations go on to affect our future creations. You can see this in the example above, in which your earlier decision to outfit your bathroom in a certain way and your choice of toiletries have gone on to create a shower experience which you will enjoy later. When you realize how much free choice you have and how your creations in each moment have the ability to influence future experiences in your life, you become more careful and conscious about what you create in each moment. Every moment becomes a sacred creation moment. My favorite trick question is to ask readers to identify a time in their lives when they are not creating. You'll be hard-pressed to identify a time when you are not creating, because even a seemingly mundane activity involves an act of creation. I was reminded of this as I tuned into my favorite music station earlier. To my surprise, I found myself spontaneously breaking out into a little dance along with the beat of the music. There I was, creating that dance as I went along. Even sitting on the couch and watching television is an act of creation. You have chosen to create that watching experience for yourself, although you may have done so out of laziness, inertia or boredom. There is a valid answer to my question though. The only moment in our lives when we are not creating is when we are asleep. When we are asleep, we temporarily withdraw our conscious abilities to choose and intend. Therefore, we are not creating while we sleep and our dreams have no manifestative powers. This means that you are always creating something except when you are sleeping. For those who have not come to embrace their creative abilities, this can be a scary thought. Indeed. What if I end up creating something unwanted? What if I create something I dislike down the road? This is the whole purpose of these books and teachings. I am not telling you how to be that creator, for you already know that and are that. I am merely showing you ways in which you can become a more conscious and better creator, in which you create conditions and things which you'll feel happier about in your life. Now that you are aware of your own creative abilities, notice how you rarely create alone. Every creation builds on the creations of others. The intent to create a cup of coffee for yourself involves working with the creations of others, farmers who grew the coffee beans, traders who bought and packaged those coffee beans, the stores that stock the beans, the coffee machine manufacturer, and so on. This is why Abraham Hicks calls it the process of co-creation. We are always creating and playing with others in this wonderful time-space reality. Repeat the earlier mental exercise and identify a few of the co-creators which you work with to co-create your current life experiences. These may be parties unknown to you, for example the coffee bean farmers, or they may be your family, friends and co-workers. Every moment is a co-creation moment. When you realize that you are always creating along with others, you become more deliberate in your thoughts, spoken words and actions. You understand that every thought, action or spoken word is creative in nature, and can go on to create something in your physical reality. Sometimes, your creations can be immediate. For example, speaking words of praise or anger to someone will cause an instant response from them. At other times, your intentions, thoughts have an influence on the energy field around you which may not be immediately perceptible to you, but will eventually go on to result in physical manifestations. When you become conscious and aware of your role as an ongoing creator, you become sensitive to whatever you create in the moment even before the first signs of physical manifestations appear. There has been a school of manifestation teachings known as the I Am teachings, popularized by the recent work of spiritual author Dr. Wayne Dyer. Many readers find the I Am teachings somewhat esoteric and difficult to apply in their lives when they first hear of it. The I Am teachings originate from a famous biblical reference, in which God answered I am that I am when Moses asked for his name in Exodus. While I am not a biblical scholar, I have been interested in the modern interpretation and meaning of this phrase, and how it relates to these spiritual manifestation principles. Dr. Wayne Dyer has taught that the words I am can be used as a manifestation technique, in which you append whatever you intend to manifest to these two words. For example, I am abundance, I am joy, I am health. This is certainly in line with universal manifestation principles, in which one has to vibrate at the level of what he intends to manifest. One has to feel abundant before they can manifest abundance, and therefore they have to be that abundance which they seek. The same applies for everything else which you intend to create in life. God's response to Moses when asked his name was, I am that I am. Let us first focus on the first two words of the response, I am. Say and feel these two words in your own being. What happens when you say the words I am? In everyday language, you are affirming your own creative presence in the universe. What you convey when you say the words I am is this: I am in the process of becoming myself. I am creating in this universe. When you add the additional three words that I am, then the long form of what you are affirming, in our modern everyday language, becomes, I am in the process of becoming what I am. I am creating whatever I am in this universe. in every moment. That is the whole spiritual essence and secret of manifestations expressed in 5 simple words. 5 words, if understood, will change the way you manifest and create your own reality forever. What God was so eloquently expressing in His response was this: we are all creators at the core of our being. We are always creating whether we know it or not. We are always creating what we are feeling and thinking in each moment. This is why the I Am teachings are so powerful once realized. But the full spiritual significance of these teachings will not become apparent until you recognize and acknowledge your own role as a powerful creator in this universe. The moment you recognize your own role as a divine creator with the power to choose and therefore create in each moment, you come into full realization of what the phrase I am that I am means. The afternoon manifestation activity at the end of this chapter will help you solidify these teachings. Afternoon manifestation activity for chapter 3. As you go through the rest of your day, consciously identify the moments in which you are creating something. It does not matter what you are creating. Just notice how you have a role to play in each and every one of your creations. Your creations do not have to be something big or grandiose. They can be something as small as an idea, a conversation with another, or even a pleasant dining experience for yourself. For example, I notice how I am creating as I type these words on paper. I notice how I am creating as I make a phone call. I notice how I am creating physical action as I exercise. Notice how effortless your creations are and how you don't have to strain or struggle to create anything. Your creations just express themselves freely through you. Do this throughout the day until you become especially aware of your own abilities as a creator. The next day, or for the rest of this week, add an additional twist to this exercise by bringing the phrase I am that I am to mind. Each time you observe, notice yourself creating something, bringing something from the non-physical to the physical world. Mentally remind yourself that I am in the process of becoming. I am creating. I am creation. Ponder the spiritual significance of the phrase I am that I am and let the meaning of this phrase reveal itself to you fully. Don't use logic or reason to infer what it means. Instead, feel what the phrase means and how it relates to your role as a creator. You will be surprised at the deep knowing and insights you can gain from this simple act of awareness. Most importantly, have fun with this afternoon activity. Chapter 4, Any stuckness is just an illusion. One immediate benefit of doing the earlier exercise is that you open your eyes to the truth of your own being. Most people deny their own creative powers right from the beginning. They say things like, I can't get any of these manifestation techniques to work. Or the law of attraction does not work for me. But when you open your eyes to how you are actually creating in every moment of your existence, you immediately recognize the falsehood in these statements. Saying that the law of attraction does not work for you is just like saying that the law of gravity does not apply to you. Of course it does. You may not consciously feel or be aware of gravitational laws right now, because you have been so used to their effects that you have tuned them out, but anyone who attempts to prove gravity for himself by jumping off a building will be in for a rude shock. In a similar manner, you may not be consciously aware of your manifestation abilities right now. Because your life looks just the way it has always been. Everything may look mundane or even unexciting. Yet when you probe a little deeper, you realize that everything in your life is exactly the way it is because you have created it in some way or another through your thoughts, intentions and actions. You have played a role in the manifestation of those circumstances, either through an acquiescence to them or by continually focusing your energy into them. The good news is that no reality is cast in stone, and you can change the current version of reality into something else with a conscious application of these spiritual principles. The stickiness of the situation is just an illusion. I was recently reminded of this spiritual truth in my own life. Over the past few years, I have allowed myself to take on a number of weekly consulting commitments that initially excited and energized me. In the beginning, the thought of working with these clients was of great joy to me and a good source of income. Yet as time went by, I found myself enjoying the sessions less and less. They required a huge time commitment and dictated that I block out chunks of time on my weekly schedule, which restricted what I could do during the rest of my day. I was in a conundrum. I had already made an implicit commitment to these clients by agreeing to meet with them weekly. Besides, the recurring income was good. Yet my enjoyment of these sessions was so diminished that I found myself complaining each time I had to attend these sessions. They drained me. Instead of enjoying and appreciating our time together, I came to resent this arrangement. This went on for months as I remained in a stuck state. I could see no way out of the situation. The clients would not let me quit since I already committed to taking them on, I frequently thought to myself. Besides, I need the income. These thoughts made me believe that I was powerless to change the situation, which caused even more inner frustration and resentment over the issue. Finally, I decided to take a good look at my own thinking. I have always taught that whenever there is a stuck or recurring situation in one's life, a good place to start examining would be our own thoughts and beliefs. Very often, our own thoughts keep us stuck. Once I had the courage to do so, I realized that the situation was not as stuck as I imagined it to be all along. How foolish had I been! Certainly no one was forcing me to remain with these clients and I could drop them at any time if I wanted. I was not in any form of long-term contract with them. Indeed, what kept me stuck was my own erroneous thinking. I had believed that it would be irresponsible for me to drop them, and that they would think badly of me if I did so. My fear of being judged. The moment I realized these as my own false thoughts and fear projections onto the situation, an immense burden was lifted from my shoulders. I realized I had always been free, and that the situation was perpetuated only because of my own acquiescence to it. I did not immediately drop these clients though after I had this realization. Making this realization was the first step, but I still needed to get clear on the inside. This means dropping any negative feelings in my inner state associated with the outer situation. Previous experience has taught me that we always need to get clear on the inside first before dealing or interacting with others. Otherwise, any strong negative feelings we carry on the inside will go on to attract equally unwanted responses in those we interact with as well. I spent the next few days clearing up all my feelings of fear and worry I felt on the inside. Using the letting go technique described in a few of my recent books, a good primer is given. In my book, Light Touch Manifestations, I worked on dropping all my feelings of fear associated with letting these clients go. I realized that the fear was more multifaceted than previously thought. There was the fear of being judged as irresponsible and also the fear of my clients being unhappy and taking retaliatory action. Then there was the fear of losing my income. Notice that all these fears were held in my own mind only. They were playing out over and over again in my own consciousness, but had no grain of truth to them. When each of these fears were closely examined, I realized they were just false projections of my ego mind. Continuing to believe in them though might have led to their outer realizations. We are not trying to control the other party or outer circumstances when we drop our fears. Although what often happens is a spontaneous resolution of the issue and a change in the other party's behavior as well. For example, I wasn't trying to influence my client's judgments when I dropped my fear of being judged. I wasn't trying to control whether they judged me as irresponsible or otherwise. Rather, I was working on myself. What happened within myself after I dropped my fear was that they could think of me in any way they wanted and I would still be alright with it. They could feel unhappy about the situation, and I would still be at peace with it. Therefore, this work is never about trying to change what is on the outside. It is always about everything that happens on the inside. It took one weekend for me to drop all the fear and worries associated with my decision. When the next week came around, I felt absolutely no negative emotions surrounding my new decision. I felt as if I could let the clients know about my decision at any time. That was what I did next. Because I had dropped all my fear and worries on the inside, my decision did not produce the reaction I feared. Earlier, no clients threatened to retaliate. A number of them expressed their sadness at my decision, and did so with great understanding. I know this to be no accident, since I had spent the past weekend working intensely on myself first. Had I broken the news to my clients while feeling frustrated and resentful about the whole situation, a different outcome would have emerged. My clients would have picked up on my negative energy and reacted accordingly. This episode reminded me of a few valuable lessons that tie in beautifully with our discussions for this chapter. First, no situation in your life is cast in stone or unchangeable, no matter how things seem on the outside. If circumstances seem unchangeable, that is because a part of ourselves have agreed to continue participating in them through our implicit thoughts and beliefs, like how I had unknowingly done so. I had allowed myself to be swept away by the current of my negative thoughts. Once these beliefs have been thoroughly examined and let go of, we are free to choose a different path and to create a whole new reality for ourselves. Second, the level of joy and ease we feel is a valuable indicator for us. When I first took on those clients in the beginning, I felt an immense sense of joy in working with them. The great joy I felt indicated that I was on the right path and in line with my broader intentions for that stage of life. However, this sense of joy turned into one of hopelessness and frustration towards the end of the working relationship. This does not mean that things have gone bad. It merely signaled that the arrangement which worked for me in the past no longer suits me at this new stage of my life. The earlier arrangement was born out of intentions I held at an earlier time in my life, and now the universe is calling me to greater things in response to the other intentions I held during the intervening time. It was time for me to move on, to let this previous arrangement go so other manifestations could come into my life. Moving on served not only myself but also my clients, who are now free to work with the next person in line with the universe's plans. Thus even a feeling of resentment or frustration serves its purpose, so long as we recognize it as a signal and do not allow ourselves to remain stuck in it. 2 unexpected good outcomes came out of this situation. I had originally intended to drop all my clients to avoid favoring one over the other. However, 2 of them strongly persuaded me to stay, and even agreed to restructure their timings such that my commitment for both was restricted to a 3-hour window per week. This was a level of commitment I could agree to with my new lifestyle. I am now in an arrangement which energizes me once again. The universe always has its way of resolving things to suit all the parties involved, if we let it. There is another part of the situation I have not directly addressed, the money involved. I have learned that we shortchange ourselves whenever we allow financial considerations to cloud our decisions. When we force ourselves to do something just for the money or just because the money is good, we invariably end up resenting the situation even more because we now become a slave to the money. Forcing ourselves to do things we do not want to for the sake of money signifies a lack of trust that the universe will provide for us in other ways. The spiritual truth is that we live in an abundant universe which can meet our financial needs in infinite ways. One technique I used to arrive at my decision was to take money completely out of the equation and ask myself, if not for the money, would I continue with my original arrangement? The answer was a clear and resounding no. Then I asked myself about the new arrangement: would I agree to this even without the money? This time, the answer was a resounding yes, which signaled that I was once again acting in accordance with my highest good. Take a look at your own life and identify situations, arrangements which cause you to feel a sense of resentment, frustration instead of joy. While you may have been energized by these prospects at one point in time, notice how your feelings have changed over time about the situation. The feeling is best described as "I don't feel like doing it but I have to do it," a sense of duty or obligation. Next, examine your thoughts and beliefs closely surrounding this situation. What thoughts and beliefs are you holding that is causing you to perceive the situation as stuck or unchangeable? In what ways are your thoughts and beliefs keeping you hostage to the situation? Note them down and work on letting these feelings go by first realizing that there is no spiritual truth in them. Each one of your fears, as I have realized for myself, is merely a false thought projected by your ego in order to make you feel safe. When you are free from the fear, you are free from the reactions or expectations of others. Work on letting go of all the fear surrounding the situation. Once you have let go of the situation on the inside, make a conscious decision on the outside. It is perfectly alright to let go of all the fear surrounding a situation and then consciously choose to continue with it. Your perception of the situation will now take on a new light, and you'll likely continue with it in a very different attitude. You may now feel passionate about the cause again after you have let go of all your false thoughts and negative feelings surrounding it. Or your experience may be similar to mine, in that letting go of the negative feelings,